Hi there, Skid Evenstani, CEO of OneWire, and welcome to Open Door. Today we're going to go interview my very good friend Charlie Ayres, who's the CEO of Trilantic Partners, a private equity shop that focuses on pretty much every industry. Charlie's a great guy, he's been in the space forever, so let's go see what he's up to. Hi there, I'm here with my good friend Charlie Ayres, who's the chairman of Trilantic Capital Partners, a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm here in New York City. Charlie, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate your taking the time.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming over.
You bet. And what I'd like to ask you is, how did you decide to get into finance? You and I have known each other for a long time. We go way back. Starting from college, how did you decide to get into the finance business?
It's a funny story. I wish I could say I came out of the womb with finance stamped on my bottom, but it did not happen that way at all. I think I was pre-med, pre-law, pre-everything before going into finance, and I had a fraternity brother down at Duke who told me to look into what were called financial analyst programs. I ended up at Lazard, as I said, and then the transition from banking into being an investor here at Trilantic really occurred, I think, in 1982 when a partner at Lazard called me into his office and said, "Charlie, I'd like you to perform some valuation analysis because we're going to issue a fairness opinion." And I said, "But gee, what are we valuing?" He said, "Well, we're actually issuing an opinion for a firm called Dr. Pepper. Have you heard of that?" I said, "Of course, I know Dr. Pepper. I drink it. What a great soft drink." And I said, "Who's buying Dr. Pepper that we're issuing the opinion to the Dr. Pepper shareholders?" And he said, "A firm called Forsman Little." And I said, "Forsman Little is that a bottler, or is that another soft drink I haven't heard of?" Because to me, companies bought companies, people didn't buy companies.
Yeah.
And it was Philip Keeble, and Philip said to me, "No, in fact, there's something called a leverage buyout," and explained the fundamentals of a leverage buyout. And I said, "So actually individuals are going to buy a company of this size?" And he said, "That's right." And I said, "Well, that's for me."
And so you worked at Lazard, and then you worked at a number of different firms. And how did you progress to where you are today?
Got recruited to a pretty brand name firm at the time in the middle market, leverage buyout or investing market, PE market, called McCowan DeLue. And I think you and I did some work there. Obviously, we were childhood friends, but we worked together there. And I ended up running what was called DB Capital Partners North America for 4 years, working with my good friend Ted Virtue and bringing some people I'd worked with at McCowan DeLue and other places there. And I ended up staying through the foundation of what became Mid-Ocean Partners that Ted and I really founded. And then very fortunately at that point, Lehman Brothers said, "Gee, Charlie, what about breaking back into jail and coming to run an affiliated model with us?" I decided that I hadn't had enough with the affiliated model and joined Lehman Brothers to run their global private equity business called Lehman Brothers Merchant Banking. And we had a very good run from when I joined in, I believe, Skiddy, April of 2003 to right up to the bankruptcy in 2007. We raised $4.5 billion. I think what I'm most proud of is we retained everybody through the bankruptcy, through that very difficult 8 months, that wanted to stay when there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty in the world and whether or not there even would be a Trilantic. And we are now an independent firm. We're managing close to $4 billion right now. And in 4 verticals: consumer products, energy, business services, and financial services. And what I'm also happy to say is we just have a wonderful culture, a real partnership, a great group of people that has managed through very tricky times to continue to do well. And it's been a wonderful story so far, Skiddy.
Well, I got to say one thing, Charlie. I've watched you. I've known you for a long time. I've watched how you've dodged and weaved through your career, and you've done a fantastic job. Very, very impressive. Let me ask you this: in terms of if you were interviewing somebody coming out of school today, somebody out of undergrad that wants to get into private equity or into the financial services industry, things have been a little different recently. What sort of advice would you give them?
What limited partners and people who need to deploy capital are looking for today is how are you going to improve a business? Not how you're going to financially engineer a return, not whether or not you're going to try to time markets and buy low and sell high, but what are you really going to bring to a business operationally? What is it you're going to do to enhance management, enhance the business, typically grow the business? And that kind of background and training and apprenticeship does not necessarily need to come out of the financial world. So if you have passion for a particular industry, which is hard to find early in one's career, but if you happen to have that early, that kind of specialization, just like what's making the world go round, can serve one very well. So I grew up in much more of a generalist experience and background. That's what was valued. That's how the industry worked. That's really not as true today. In energy, we would seriously consider somebody that grew up in the oil patch, somebody that frankly graduated from a Texas or Oklahoma university, somebody that really found summer jobs, working on rigs and things like that. It was in their bones that the oil and gas industry was really something they were passionate about. So I think the good news is there is a little bit more acceptance of diversity of experience. And again, I think that young folks should think about specialization, unfortunately, earlier.
I got you. Well, listen, Charlie, you're a busy guy. Really appreciate your taking the time. I think that anybody viewing this video is going to learn a lot about private equity, what it takes. They certainly got to hear a good bit about your career and progress, and can't thank you enough.
It's getting my pleasure, and wishing everybody who might watch this and working with OneWire good luck.
Thank you.